How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to cover how to grow your podcast. If you want to make a podcast that people listen all the way through, refer it, and then keep coming back, then this is going to be the episode for you. So this is my podcast, the Positive Mindset Podcast. You can check it out. There's a link in the description. It's, I hope a good podcast that you would enjoy, but I have been growing it, and my goal here today is to share some things that I have learned that will hopefully help you grow your podcast. So I like to start these out with a little bit of social proof. So this is it. This is my Spotify account on podcasts. Now, podcasts are available on multiple streams. So you have like iTunes, Google, Amazon, and of course Spotify, and then many more. I'm logged into my Spotify account because one, it's very useful. It's good to see kind of the metrics in there, and I feel like it's a great tool. So no matter what host you use, I use Anchor to promote my podcast, but no matter what host you use, you should have a Spotify account if your podcast is available on Spotify. So you can log into Spotify and see all these numbers. So I have 90,000 followers on Spotify. I've had 647 unique listeners, 1.6 million streams, and then 2.1 starts. The difference between a stream and a start is listening more than 60 seconds. So this is really the number that I think matters, because sometimes people will click a podcast and click out, and I don't know if that's worth counting for anything. So this is the big number. Of course, iTunes is growing really well, and so I have those metrics as well. But for this, we're not really going to hit that. So the main thing that I like to look at is I go over, like, so if you go to your homepage when you log in, it's got all your information so you can see where your podcast ranks in different charts. It's got some promo cards you can lose. It's got top episodes for the past few months, all kinds of cool information here. But what we want to do is we want to check out the catalog. So I've got my podcast over the last 7 days. You can see how many starts, streams, listeners it's had, when the last episode came out. And we're going to click that, and then we're going to scroll down to the latest episode that just came out. So this one, you can see the performance. So this is how long people stay tuned in. So I have a ad that starts at the beginning of the podcast, and then the podcast is going to go. Sometimes I do have a promo in the beginning as well. There's not one in this case. I actually only have one about every other week, so it's not very common. So I can see where people jump out and jump back in. This is the intro. So you can see how it dips down and then goes back up. That means there's probably a percentage of people that listen often or are just checking out the podcast, and they kind of skip trying to get to the big part of the podcast or the information. So they kind of skip ahead and then it picks up. My goal is to get here usually above 50%. If I can be in the 50 to 55%, I feel like that was a good podcast. The information really stuck and people found it valuable. Whenever it gets lower than 50 at this point, then I know that maybe I rambled too long or the information didn't hit home, and so I can go back and adjust. I can make changes and continue to improve the podcast, try different things, see what helps drive these numbers up. So right here, for me, this is kind of the end of the podcast. At this point, I end the show and I just have like my ending messages. So I say, thanks for listening. I promote whatever I need to promote. So people that are listening through there are either one, they were just listening and they're not in a place to change it, so it plays all the way through. Two, they're just really committed and they want to hear the end credit type things. Or it's like everyone else, they've heard the message and then they either go to the next episode or they click out. So that's why it goes down. So I know right around this point is when it switches. So that could be anywhere in your podcast where you kind of end the actual message. That's where I like to look from. Because once you end the actual message, of course your numbers are going to go down, and I wouldn't really look at that. But using this guide to see when and where people click out will be really helpful. As I've built this podcast over time, I've done segments, I've tried things, and I've seen where the numbers go down. I've seen what type of guests don't resonate. When the guest comes on and it goes down. I've seen what kind of topics don't resonate. And I do think you need to stay true to what's valuable to you. You don't want to just continue to change the topic and the content over and over and over to try to make the best for the audience. I think there has to be part of it that's dedicated to you, meaning if it doesn't resonate with what you want to do, you shouldn't make the change, because building a podcast or building anything worthwhile is an absolute grind. It takes a lot of work. And if you're not loving it, absolutely just so infatuated with the topic, then you'll probably quit. So make sure it still aligns with what's valuable and important to you, but then look at it and your audience is telling you what you need to do. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this little tip is valuable, and just to kind of show you, how I know that I've hit a pretty good stream here. Let's look at, so we saw what that one is. Let's just grab another one here. And you can see it's almost the same trend, right at 50% there. That's the one below it. And then we can go to this one. And this one actually did a little bit better. So this one's right at 55. So that's kind of the goal there. So you can just see I've kind of perfected my message. I know exactly what I'm looking to do. I just check this after every episode and just reflect. I try to do it after an episode comes out, like as close to 1 to 2 days as possible, because after that, a lot of return listeners dive in, and that can help the numbers go up because they support you. They're going to listen to the podcast all the way through. And so I want that kind of fresh in the beginning. But also, I am really close to what the message was, when it just came out. So I kind of remember what's at what spot, a lot more freshly than if it's been a couple weeks away. And then I have to go back and listen to it and then reflect at it. But hopefully this was helpful. Continue your passion, build your podcast, your YouTube channel, your business, your goals, whatever they are. Just stay committed, go for the long haul. You can do this. And I always like to end on this. I'm going to show you this right here. Let's see if I can find it. Audience. So this is all time. I love sharing the all time. Start. Not much action happening there. You can see barely anything on Spotify. And then August, when I got laid off from my job, I committed to making this podcast something that, was going to be something. I didn't have a goal in mind of like, okay, it's going to get 1 million downloads a week or I'm going to make a bunch of money off of it. I just wanted to commit to the energy, that action of, doing the thought, my stuff is on positive mindset. So I wanted to spend time in that. And this has kept me committed to that every single day. And I've enjoyed it. There's definitely been times where I wanted to quit, but I've kept going. You can keep going too. You can see if you just keep with it, you'll grow. If you listen to my podcast, I'm not anything special. I don't have a big budget. It's just me and my computer. I don't even have like the best computer system. Like that's why I haven't done very many videos recently, because the video and audio, like it just has a hard time with it. I just need to buy a new computer so that way I don't have that problem anymore. Well, if you loved this video, subscribe, drop a comment below. If you have a question, anything I can try to help with. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.